Okay, good morning. So there's another video I'm going to make. This is going to be on Sade Sati, right? This is very dreaded word. Two words, very dreaded. Sade Sati. A lot of astrologer they scare the people of Sade Sati, and there's a lot of misconception about how bad the Sade Sati is going to be, right? So I'm going to explain if the Sade Sati is going to be bad or good, and even what is the basic thing about the Sade Sati, right? So Sade Sati means seven and a half. Sade Sat. That's what a Sade Sat is a Hindi word, which means seven and a half. And seven and a half of what? So 7.5 years of transit of Saturn. And that's called the Sade Sati. So we know that Saturn takes 30 years to complete one round of Sun. So in 30 years, it's complete 360 degree, which is like 12 rasis. So in 2.5 years for each rasis, right? Now, 7.5 years Saturn will take to complete three rasis, and those three rasis are called the Sade Sati. So, but this three rasi is in reference to the point of moon, right? So, wherever the moon is placed in your birth chart, when Saturn is one house before moon, and in the house where the moon is, and then the next house to the moon, so that three houses, right? Those three houses are called the Sade Sati house. So 7.5 years, because Saturn is going to take 2.5 years for each sign. So here I talk about sign and house interchangeable because it's the same thing. So let me give you an example. Uh, Say, for example, somebody which is born in, I just pick any dates, July 10th to July 15th, 2010, 10:30, just an example, New Delhi, here. So we can see moon is here in Leo. Number 5 is Leo. So moon is in the Leo. There are too many planets. Let me change it, pick a simple example. So let's make it. Okay. Now moon is here in Libra. Number 7 is Libra sign. So moon is in Libra. So to calculate Sade Sati, what we have to do is when Saturn is, let me change this too because Saturn is already before. So let's make it 25. This also, yeah, this is better. So, so to calculate Sade Sati, moon is placed in the native chart. This is the birth chart here in Capricorn in Makar Rasi, Capricorn, number 10. So when transiting Saturn is in this house, number 9, Sagittarius, 2.5 years here, 2.5 years here, and 2.5 years here. This 7.5 year period is called Sade Sati. And similarly, there is concept of Dhaya and Kantaksani. So Dhaya is when transiting Saturn is in the fourth house from moon. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So when Saturn is here in Aries, this is number 1 is the Aries sign. So that will be one Dhaya. And then 7 and 8. And when Saturn is here in Leo, that will be the another Kantak Sani, which is called Ashtam Sani, because Saturn will be the 8th house from the moon. So basically, when Saturn is 12th house from moon here, on the moon, second house to moon, this 3 is Sade Sati, fourth house from moon is Dhaya, and 8th house from moon is Kantak Sani. So you can see for Saturn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Out of 12, 5 house transit is bad, right? This means like 5 into 2.5, so close to 12 and a half, 13 years out of 30 years is supposed to be problematic. But that's not the fact. That doesn't happen that Sade Sati is always bad. And also this calculation of Sade Sati is, there is some, in my mind, there is some confusion. Some confusion in the sense like the way to calculate in a right way is you look into the degree of the moon, right? So here, if I go, moon is in 22-degree Capricorn. So when we say like a house before moon, in the house where moon is seated, a next house to moon, and that's 7.5 years is Sade Sati, we need to look into the degree of the moon. So basically this 30 degree, 30 degree, 30 degree, right? So 90 degree, and if we take the moon as a reference point, then 45 degree before moon and 45 degree after moon, right? So that's how is the right way to calculate the Sade Sati. A lot of astrologer, they don't do. So the moment they see Saturn coming into his Sagittarius here, entering into this house, they will say, oh, anybody who has Capricorn moon, going to have Sade Sati, they're going to have miserable life, they have to do so problem, right? So if I calculate Sade Sati for this native, I have to do subtract 45 degree for moon, 22 degree here. So basically 22 degree here, and then some parts. So basically 8 degree of Sagittarius. So only when Saturn moves past 8 degree of Sagittarius, the Sade Sati for moon will start. Right now, okay, that's starting the Sade Sati, but is it going to be good or bad? And for that, I generally use what is called the Ashtakvarga, and that's the strength of the chart. So if I look into Saturn here, and I see Saturn has point 1 in this house. This house is where Sade Sati is going to start, right? The fourth house here, number 9. And then when moon is here, which is Capricorn, and then next, which is Aquarius, right? And I see Saturn has excellent support. 6 is the best point Saturn can get. 7th is here and 6th is here. So these two is the highest number for Saturn. And this is the number 5, which is again second best number. For Saturn, anything more than 3, 3 is average, anything more than 3 is the excellent. So whenever Saturn is going to be here on the Capricorn and next Aquarius, which has 6 and point number, Sade Sati is going to make this person prosper like anything. This is the best time for him to get the best result from Saturn, which is the Karma Karka or Karka for the profession, right? So anybody going to say that, oh, you have Sade Sati and going to suffer and all? Not at all for this native. Probably yes, with 2.5 years in the beginning here, because here Saturn has just only 1 point, and that's not a lot. So this time is going to be problematic. So first 2.5 years will be bad, but after that, out of the 7.5 years, next 5 years going to be excellent for this native. So that's how the Sade Sati should be looked at, not just by merely seeing transit of Saturn and saying that, okay, you are going to suffer, right? The other thing to look into for Saturn, for Sade Sati is where is the moon placed? Moon is placed in the house of Saturn itself. So that's a positive thing. And the other thing to look at is so even here, if you look into that, here is bad, only 1 point. Now, 1 point is, but this is 2.5 years, right? So in the 2.5 years, I know this is going to be troublesome because Saturn doesn't have a lot of support. So I can't say all of 2.5 years is going to be bad, right? So how to know which time is going to be bad, right? So that is again some advanced concept of Ashtakvarga. So if I click here and say, yeah. So here 1 point which Saturn got is only from the ascendant, right? So ascendant is out of the 8 planets supporting Saturn here, only ascendant, which is Lagna, is supporting it. Right? Now, how to use this information for telling the native that which period is going to be good and bad out of these 2.5 years? Well, it's like maximum is the 8 point. 1 point is Saturn has got 1 point, right? So there is few months in the 2.5 years that which is going to be not that bad, right? But remaining time is going to be very bad, right? So if you 2.5 years, if you divide that by 8, right, then the last portion of that 8 year of the 2.5 years going to be okay because Saturn is getting support from Lagna. Right. Now, what I'm seeing the last portion because there's a concept called Kakch in the Ashtakvarga. So Kakch means this whole 30 degree is divided into 8 parts. And the very first part is given to Saturn, second part is given to Jupiter, third part to Mars. Like that, last part is given to Lagna. So I see that Lagna, which is the ascendant, is the one which is contributing 1 point here. So the last part, which is contributed by the Lagna, is going to be okay. But before that is going to be now. Let's take another example. Okay, so let's pick another one. For example, I will just put some date, April 27 here. So in this case, see Moon and Saturn here I see right in the fourth house, right? So whenever you have Moon along with Saturn, that itself means he was born during the Sade Sati, because Saturn was transiting over the Moon. So for that kind of natives, Sade Sati is by default little challenging because he was born in the Sade Sati. But again, we have to make the judgment by looking at the Ashtakvarga. In the Ashtakvarga, Sade Sati is going to be when Saturn is here in the Leo, Virgo, and the Libra. So in Leo, which is this sign, Saturn has only one. This one is 3, which is okay. This is 2, which is bad, right? And you can see that everything else is kind of more or less 3, 4, 3, 4. It's not a lot of change I can see for this particular native, right? If I say like which phase of these 2.5 years when Saturn is in Libra going to be bad, I can say like which planet is supporting here, and right. So so here in the Libra, Sun and Venus, these are the 2 planets supporting. So after 2.5 years, you divide again 2.5 years into 8 different parts. First part is to Saturn, which is going to be bad. Second part is to Jupiter, going to be bad. Third part is to Mars, going to be bad. Fourth part is given to Sun. Sun is giving a auspicious point, so going to be good. Then fifth is going to be Venus, which is good again. Sixth is Mercury, going to be bad. Seventh is Moon, going to be bad. And eighth is Lagna, which is going to be bad. So out of 8, I can say 2/8 of the time of these 2.5 years is going to be okay for the native, and all other 6th, 8th of the 2.5 years is going to be challenging. So that's how we look into Sade Sati. Moon and Saturn at the time of birth, if together, it's called Vishyog. Vishyog means Moon and Saturn. Moon is getting impacted by Saturn. Saturn is retrograde, that's another concept. What Vishyog means, Moon is very, very light planets, like very chanchal, spirited. He likes to enjoy the life, likes everything which is light. And Saturn is very, very heavy planet. It's the most slow moving planet, and it's very disciplined. It's karaka for discipline, profession, work. Saturn is called judge in the astrology. So it's basically Moon doesn't like being when the Saturn is watching it, right? So Moon is under tremendous pressure. Moon wants to do something which wants to do, but because of Saturn, is not happy because Saturn is always pressing it to be disciplined, be goal oriented, focus on your karma, right? But Moon wants to do whatever it likes. So that's why this is called Vishyo. Means it's not a happy moment. It's always under pressure. Native is always under pressure because Moon is pressurized by Saturn, right? If Jupiter is aspecting Moon, then it basically makes a little bit better. Uh, Otherwise, this is called a Vishyoga. So that's all. I hope you understand now what the Sade Sati is, what the Dhaya is. Dhaya is again here when Saturn transits into fourth house from Moon. So fourth house from Moon will be 1, 2, 3, 4, which is Sagittarius. Right. So when Saturn transits here in Sagittarius, it will be the starting of Dhaya. And here I see like Saturn has has got 3 points. So 3 points is average, so it won't be that bad. Kantak Sani, which is like Ashtam Sani, when Saturn transits eighth house from Moon, so eighth house will be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the Aries. And here in eighth house, you can see it has 1, 2, 3, 4 points. So there is nothing to worry about for the Kantak Sani. But again, astrologer, they are not going to say, oh, your Dhaya is going to be good, or Kantak Sani going to be do. They're going to just scare the people, and that's what they do. So this is my chart, and here you can see I am right now. Saturn is in the Pisces, which is Kantak Sani for me, Ashtam Sani. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I have here 4 points, right? So I'm going through this Kantak Sani, but as I said, like I have 4 points. I'm nothing to worry. Seems to be all good so far. And you can see like a lot of ups and downs here because Saturn is getting 6 point, and then many three houses have only one point, right? So whenever Saturn transits into this, it could be a little challenging. But whenever Saturn is here, it could be very good, right? So that's how overall we take a look on how the Saturn transit is going to impact us. That's all. Hope this video makes better you to understand how the Sadasati works. Thank you.